Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan, he's a Corgi, and this is an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. So today, we're so far away, I hope this works, because I want to show you one of the applied kinesiology tests that we use often in a T-Touch class with Linda, if we've got something going on with a dog and we need more information. And this is a lot harder to film, and I find it somewhat useful, but for people who are super skeptical about the other kinds of muscle testing, this can be easier for them. So basically what you're going to be doing is standing up, and you're going to ask which direction is yes and which direction is no. And this is going to be a sway forward or a sway back. In a very few people, it can be a side to side for any of those answers. So once you establish which way is yes and which way is no, then you can go on and ask questions about the dog that you are working with, or cat or horse or bunny, guinea pig. So this can be a little tricky, again, to ask the right questions. You know, if you say to your dog, is your lameness from a tick-borne problem? You're saying from a tick-borne problem. So does that mean that the lameness started with the tick thing? Or was the lameness an old ACL injury and now the tick thing has made it worse? So the questions you ask have to be super precise. And you may have to ask multiple questions to get an answer that is clear to you. And again, the way this all works is that it's picking up on your intuition, the subtle energy in your body that feels like this is the right thing or the wrong thing. The best way to do this with a dog is to have a person completely unrelated to the dog stand up and answer these questions. If it's the person that knows the dog, especially if they have, or the horse, if you have been doing so, you know, you've been to this vet, that vet, this person, that person, you know, seen this improvement, seen this setback, you are so caught up in the situation that it's really hard to be not biased. And again, if you have any kind of issues in your body, spinal problems, joint problems in your knees and hips or feet, this is not always the most reliable. And, you know, really, when I am working with someone long distance, I do a combination of things just to make sure that I am really getting the right answer, and that I really trust the answers that I'm getting. And I'm going to try to do this today to show you while I'm holding my dog, which I do not recommend, but he has to be in the picture. And I think I've decided to ask questions about my little doggy friend Peanut, because I know him pretty well and I don't know how he's doing. I mean, I think he's fine, but I know him enough to have questions that are appropriate, and I don't know him so well in the moment that I'm caught up in what may or may not be going on with him. So what you're going to do is just stand up comfortably. Some of us are holding a Corgi when we do that. It's okay, Bess. And you're going to ask the universe, which direction is yes? And I'm falling forward. This is generally the case. When I first started doing this, my yes was backwards. Which direction is no? And I think holding the Corgi, you can actually see a better sway. So now you ask questions that you know the answers to. Do I love creme brulee? Yes. Do I love seafood? No. So, and I know it's hard for you to believe that I'm not doing this. So let's look at Peanut. Does Peanut, who's a dachshund, does he like seafood? Yes, Peanut does like seafood. I'll have to call his mother and ask. Does Peanut have a sore back today? Yes. Now he's an extra long dachshund, so he might have a sore back today. Is Peanut sore back in his muscles? Yes. Is Peanut sore back in his skeletal system? No. Now this little fella does a ton of hiking, so he could have a sore back just from running up and down the mountains with his parents. Let's see. Does Peanut feel like he needs to rest today? Yes, a very strong yes. The kid's 12 years old and he does a ton of hiking on the weekends, and it's Thursday, so he might need some more days off for the weekend. Does Peanut want to take a nap with his brother Aiden today? Yes. So they live together, they like each other. Sometimes they sleep curled up, sometimes they don't. Is Peanut afraid of Aiden? Yes, because periodically Aiden loses his calm and eats his brother. So that would be a strong yes. Is Peanut confident to defend himself against Aiden? Yes. So, he's a bigger, stronger dog at this point than Aiden, who has digestive issues. Is Peanut's stomach feeling good today? Yes, he has no digestive problems. Let's ask Peanut does Peanut want to go hiking in 2 days? Yes. All right, so that's how you would do that. You would just ask quite a few questions like that to find out some information about your dog. Oh, I can come back into the camera now. You're so far away. My mic hardly reached. So that's how you can use this to ask questions, and it is much harder when you're holding a Corgi. And you could do it if you have a small animal like a cat or a rabbit or a guinea pig and hold them when you're doing it, but I'm not sure that you'll get a correct answer as much as you would if you were just in the room with an animal. We like to have the animal present and then put our hands on our hearts like we were going to do a heart hug and then ask the questions. And what's so remarkable about this, and you could try this with one of your pets, is the reactions we see in the animals. We've had some dogs in class that were, let's say, afraid of other dogs, and we have them come out of their box, and all the other dogs are chilled out, laying around, doing their thing, sitting with their people. And this dog is nervous, and so he might be at the end of his leash, kind of worried about all the other dogs in the room. And as we start to ask questions, we'll see him, in response to our answers, sit down, lay down, yawn, roll over, look at his mom, look at his dinner bowl. So it's really interesting. Can I do it remotely? Yes, you can do it remotely. And I encourage you to do this remotely. It's a good way to check in with your dog when you're traveling and you're not with them. I like to have a picture of the animal on my phone or my computer or something when I'm doing it remotely, just to keep me present. They say the average attention span of a human is like 20 seconds. And if you want to manifest something, you have to hold that intention for a minimum of 30 seconds to 60 seconds, which doesn't sound like much, but if you try to focus on one thing in particular for that long, which isn't very long, it seems like a long time. So I like to keep that animal's picture around me when I do this. And you can also do this to check in with animals across the Rainbow Bridge. I have pictures of Comet or maybe a piece of jewelry with a Corgi that looks like him that I hold while I'm doing my heart hug. And I just check in with him and say, things like, is he still with me? Will he send me a sign today that he's still with me? Did he suffer at his passing? Was he, comfortable in his body in his final days? Things like that you want to know the answers to. You can ask an animal across the Rainbow Bridge. And I frequently ask them things like, is my other dog, Winnie, there with you? Have you met this dog that I know that died last week, to see if Comet is connecting with them? So I find it really useful that way, and it's really consoling to you as a person. And it's helpful too, when we do this in a big class, we have a different person asking the questions than the person that's doing the swaying. And they're all different from the dog's owner. And that way we're getting really a lot of objectivity here, because, as you're listening, there might be 20 people listening, and you're all sort of following a train of thought, like I was with Peanut. Are you sore in your back? Okay, is it muscular? Is it skeletal? And I did want to ask him if he needed a tune-up, because that might not happen for 2 weeks. So I didn't want to stress him out and think he's getting one when he's not. So, but you can, see that you could follow a line along there. Do your legs hurt, and like start to develop a thing that may or may not be true. So I try to keep it more general and just things that you might come up in conversation with another person if you were meeting them for lunch. How you doing? How's that back pain? Did you got the leaves raked yet? Are you having help with that? Stuff that is more less charged than what you might typically, go into a session saying, I want to get to the bottom of this. And the less judgment and the more neutral you can be when you do this, the better and more reliable your answers will be. But it's also really good to use for yourself. Should I buy the new sofa? Should I try this Mediterranean diet? Should I stop drinking for 3 weeks? And your body will tell you the answers to these questions. Should I move to a warmer climate? Things about your business. You can ask all kinds of things, small things and big things, like, oh, should I go to this place for lunch or that place for lunch? Should I go out to dinner one day this week? Should I go to this place or that place? It's also really useful. I've used the finger one, this one with the interlaced fingers, when I'm lost sometimes, especially if I'm in a panic when I'm lost, like when I have a deadline to be somewhere and I'm lost, to say, should I go right or left at the next light? And it'll tell me. So it can be really helpful. And I have to say, I've gotten rarely completely lost, probably partially because I'm doing this. And also that Reiki thing where you're like coming down the road and you're imagining every light being green for you as you get there. They're just turning green, or somebody's moving out of your way so that you can fly down the highway when you have to be somewhere. So I've had a really good success with that. And you can also use it in other ways in your daily life. If you're going to a job interview, should I wear this suit or that suit, or, things like that. So I find it really a helpful way to tap into your intuition. To be honest, I most usually use a pendulum because I almost always have one within 3 feet of wherever I am. I carry them with me frequently. I have a few of them. Mine all have lapis on the end because I'm very attuned to the blue and green colors, as you can tell. But, and almost when I used to do T-Touch classes for horses, I don't do this as much as I used to, but in the classes, most of the people are wearing a necklace, and I could get them to take the necklace off to connect with a horse spirit that they knew, either one that wasn't there or one that had crossed the Rainbow Bridge, to get information about the horse that was in the class. And it was really interesting what people discovered. So I encourage you to give this a try yourself until you feel really comfortable with it. And again, very few people have no sway whatsoever. And that may happen. You may have to ask different questions. You may have to go back to the ones you know the answers to, like, what is your name? What's the street address? Things that, you absolutely know the answer to, like, I don't like seafood. I know that answer is going to be no. So pick things that you know and get comfortable with the process so that you can then use it to connect with your animals. So good luck trying the sway technique for applied kinesiology. I am not going to be able to type all those words on the title here, but I will try to get most of them so that you can try it yourself and find it later on YouTube. Brian's going to be uploading these this weekend to YouTube. All the conversations with the Corgis. Coming up to 400 of them now. And they're under Conversations with a Corgi on YouTube. And there are links to them on my website. If you watch this and you haven't signed up for my mailing list on my website, please do that. I'm sending out a mailing now once a month about the radio show that I'm doing with my sister. So you might want to get those updates because we have really interesting guests. And I think it's helpful to read about the guests before you actually get to hear them live. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great day.